Tell me about the mountain.
I did what I had to do, that's all.
This is about Clark.
She's being hunted by everyone.
Our people believe that this is real peace. Try not to screw that up.
The 100 season premiere Thursday, January 21st on the CW.
Hey everyone, it's me, Jess, and we are 1 week away from the return of The 100 Season 3. And that means the return of the action and Lincoln. And I'm here today with some really cool guests. It's like the girl show today. And I'm excited about that because there's a lot of female power in The 100. We've got Hollie and we've got Toni Darling, and both of them do a lot of cosplay. And tell us about Nerd Nation magazine.
It's basically a collective of all nerd genres, basically anything, movies, games, whatever. They'll do articles and stuff on that, and you can find that at www.nerdnationmagazine.com. Nerdnationmagazine.com.
Go there. It's a really cool site. I actually read it a lot. And Toni Darling, she is a professional cosplayer, and she brought in something really cool to show us and a lot of cool pictures. Tell us a lot about your cosplay adventures, because I've seen some awesome pictures by you.
Well, I started doing it like 3 years ago. I kind of just fell into it accidentally as I was like finishing up my degree, and I was like, oh, you know, this is going to be fun, because like who doesn't want to just dress up as a superhero?
I know.
And then it ended up turning into kind of like a career.
Look at these
stuff.
pictures.
Oh wow!
So, look at you, good girl. Get it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So like, you know, Mother Russia Furiosa, which is on the screen now, like that's the most recent costume that I did, which is why I brought that in. And technically, it's one of, I think, like my better pieces. I kind of started out doing fabric, and now I've moved on to like armor pieces,
like hardware.
Hardware.
What are you most known for?
Thor, definitely. Thor. Yeah.
And you brought Furiosa here. Tell us how do you make this?
Well, this actually was so much fun because it involved so many new things like welding and riveting, which is actually really hard.
Did you you welded and riveted it?
Yeah, and I definitely,
Oh
I definitely had help. A friend of mine, Kip's World, he does a lot of costume design. Also, he has much larger like man muscles than I do, so he had to help me with some of the riveting because it was really hard. And then like this is just like a thermoplastic. With a purse cut out and like glued over it and stapled on. And then these are all just like, the detail really comes from, everything here was like pre-owned. So I went to a Goodwill and I just bought a bunch of purses and I ripped off all the straps and I took a bunch of belts and I used all of those, because you figure you could sit there for hours and weather material.
Right.
But that's gonna take you literally hours. Whereas if you just get something that's pre-worn, it adds that extra level of detail. And like the boots, I like rolled them around in the dirt and scuffed them up, and you know, that kind of thing.
That's amazing. So these costumes, if you've gone to a convention, you see them and they are not like the store-bought ones. I'm telling you, hours and hours of work goes into these, and they look amazing. And you can tell the detail on this is just, it's cool. It's handmade, and if you haven't seen Mad Max, you need to, because it looks like exactly in the picture of you dressed up in Furiosa, it looks just like it.
Well, you know, shaving my head was like the final step, the final
so
detail.
You really went all out.
Yeah. Well, I figured if you're going to do a costume in that, you know, of a female especially who doesn't have hair, like. You got to go big or go home. Not to mention, you got to put grease paint all over your forehead and your head.
Yeah.
And I thought this was appropriate because of the 100. I was like, apocalyptic everything all the time. And my dress is also Furiosa, so it's like
That's
just
so cool.
all the apocalypse.
I just noticed
all the time.
that.
Yeah, my husband had it made, so it's like a picture of Furiosa with the belt.
Oh wow!
And
perfectly
everything.
in the right spot. Very cool. Lots of awesome things you guys are doing. And speaking of awesome, they have released this really cool trailer for The 100. It's kind of long, but I want everyone to get a chance to see it if you haven't. So take a look at this.
I'm no one.
A lot of people out there right now looking for Noah. You were trying to save lives.
But I
Welcome home, Thelonious.
didn't. There's a threat outside these walls.
Threats inside the walls. Can't you see that?
This land is ours now. Resist, and you will be greeted by death.
Please tell me that going to war is not what you want.
We've been at war since we landed.
How can you just be fine?
I'm not fine!
I was going to save everyone.
I wish you could have.
We are your people. We survived together.
What if I'm just broken?
The City of Light is real.
Whatever it is, it's eliminating more than just pain.
And everything humanly possible to ride out the nightmare that you created.
Our people, they'll never see anything but death here. In this world, when people leave, they don't come back.
I did.
Not all ground is the same. They are to me.
My brother is on the wrong side.
I have always done what is best for us. I need you to trust that I am doing that now.
We need to talk about your sister.
You're dead to me.
Oh, that looks good. Only 1 week to, okay, so Lex is still around. We got a new guy. Apparently his name is Pike, and he's stirring up some stuff at, what do they call that, Ark? Camp Jaha? Yeah, Jaha. And looks like there's going to be a little bit of a rift between Bellamy and
Family drama.
Family drama. So, did you guys watch the show live, or were you a Netflix binger?
Netflix binger.
Me too.
A mixture of both.
Mixture.
Depends on what I have time for.
See, I'm always curious with the Netflix effect because this show has been slow to grow on me, and I think it's the same with a lot of fans. So I'm wondering how big this next premiere is going to be, how many people are going to be watching it. I'm interested to find out how many new fans there are going to be because it is a great show. It's one of my favorite at the CW, and you know I like a lot. I like The Flash, I like Arrow. So what are your favorite characters?
Gosh, easier to say which ones I don't like.
Okay, so who don't you like?
Clark.
You don't like Clark?
I don't like Clark.
Interesting. That's polarizing. I never kind of loved the main character. Like Clark's the main, and I get it.
It's like Sookie in True Blood. Like I just never really cared for Sookie either.
Yeah, no, I don't watch True Blood.
Yeah, you're missing out. But yeah, no, I think Clark grew on me. I like her more and more as it goes on. Like by the end of the second season, I'm like, okay, you've made some difficult decisions. You've done some pretty horrible things, which makes her really interesting.
Right.
The more horrible things people do, the more I find them interesting. Plus, her character development really is actually pretty deep at this point. Like she doesn't stay the same, which is what I find interesting about her, but she can be a little whiny.
Yeah, I think I should clarify that not liking a character not the same as not finding them interesting.
Right.
Like she's a fascinating character, well developed.
Yeah.
So much going on with her.
Some of the worst characters in TV, or I mean, it's kind of like the Mad Men theory. I mean, I didn't watch the very end, but Don Draper, he's not a likable character, but he's a very interesting character. Yeah. So I agree. I think that Bellamy's pretty interesting because the arc that he has taken from being the bad guy to like almost camp savior, really at the end of this season, has made him such an interesting character. Just to see that change, and I don't know how many months or years there have been on the ground. Do you guys know? It's been like a year.
I don't think that it's been more than a year.
It's not been more than a year, I don't think. I think it's actually been shorter time than we think. But
because it was only 10 days between when they landed and when Raven showed up.
Right.
Which there were actually quite a few episodes between that if you think about it. But it, like, she got there and she was like, it's only been 10 days since you've been gone. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, it seems like it's been a month.
It's just so action-packed.
Right.
There's like so much going on.
Yeah, and apparently this next season is the first one where they will have a bit of a time jump, a couple months, is what the director said, between where we left off and what's to come. So speaking of where we left off, we see Clark wandering into the wilderness.
Right.
We're not, any theories on where she's going?
Grounders. There's only one place she can go.
Yeah.
Snow Queen. Because I think that was who Lexa said like killed her love.
Yes.
Was the Snow Queen or
Ice
the Northern
Queen or
Ice Queen, something
of
like
the
that.
Iceland or something.
Yeah, and so my guess would be that's where she's going because, you know, where else would she go? Plus,
Right.
I also feel like I saw a photo with her kind of with the war braids.
Yes, they
kind of
are
like
braiding her
Octavia.
out a little bit more.
And her,
Right.
she's got a shot where she's got the red hair and stuff as well. So
Yeah, I
a
think
bit of a-
they're more assimilating her into the grounder. So I'm curious to see how that interaction, like obviously she's gonna have to meet back up with Lexa at some point, and Lexa betrayed her. Do you think that there's room for forgiveness there, or do you think that they're gonna band together, or what? Or
If they have to, they probably will, just like they did before,
Yeah.
except that, you know, towards the end, Lexa, she was like, well, I don't really need you anymore. But it's so clear that they also, you know, very much care about each other.
Yeah.
So I feel like those feelings aren't going to go away.
yeah,
Plus,
But I don't
we
know if the trust will be
also
reestablished.
noticed in one of the trailers, there's a bit of a steamy scene there.
There
with
is a
Clark.
steamy
She's getting that
scene.
girl-on-girl action there.
yeah, yes, I think so. They'll patch things up probably. What about the Bellark shippers?
Oh, I think they're going to be disappointed.
I think they are too. I don't like shipping people to begin with, but I don't, especially not those two, because I think that they need to both be like dynamic. Like they can't be together as a couple because I think they have to have like differing opinions. You know what I mean? And I feel like if they put them together as a couple, it'll be like whatever you say. So I don't want to see that happen.
I don't think it will.
Yeah,
Ah.
I'm hoping it won't. Another way we left off the season, though, is in the City of Light, which I cannot. This in the Woman in the Red Dress, it keeps reminding me of Game of Thrones. Do you guys watch Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I keep thinking of like the Woman in the Red Dress. And
I keep thinking
the
of
Lord
Lost
Light.
Girl because that's where I've seen that actress before. So I'm
Okay.
just like expecting like fairy queen going on there.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's taking, this season was so jam-packed with like the struggle that next season's going to take, I think, like a real different turn. I think we're almost going to be having two full different plots with Jaha and Murphy over in this, I guess is that the City of Light? Is that what we're considering the City of Light?
I guess. I mean, that's where he landed. I mean, it actually reminds me a little bit of like a Resident Evil situation where he kind of like shows up and there's this like clean mansion and this
Nothing
creepy
creepier.
computer thing, or
Yeah.
you know. So I mean, I'm not as interested in what's going on over there.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess maybe because I like the survival story. That's more
Yes.
appealing to me than the weird evil computer taking over story.
Right, kind of the little, it's almost like when this is all kind of believable, but then when you
Right.
get into it's almost like a little mystical, a little lost, I guess, in a way. So, you know, it's an interesting point though. TV.com, and I'll have to quote it. He said that whoever wrote the article, the idea that artificial intelligence created by humans could have been humanity's downfall. And isn't that saying something? All our viewers watching on Periscope, it's going to be our phones are going to be the end of us. But I thought that's interesting because we actually don't know why the Earth is nuked.
Right.
Do you guys think it was the artificial intelligent lady in the red dress, and that the guy who in the video killed himself?
I think
he
she
created?
came post-apocalyptically.
You do?
Yeah.
And she wasn't. See, I kind of think that she may be the cause of it.
I don't know. I don't know. Like either way, if that's the case, I'm a little bit bored with that theme because I feel like that theme has been, not that apocalypticism hasn't been played out 1,000 times.
Right.
But you know, I don't know. I kind of hope that that's not the case.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm 50-50, and I really haven't given that particular part too much thought because I'm like,
Yeah.
nah.
Yeah,
Nah.
it was a cool way to end the season. I think it was a cooler end to season 1 with Clark waking up in the mountain.
Yes.
But it was a pretty cool way to end the season just because it sets up like a whole different thing. The video that Murphy was watching was cool it wasn't cool that the guy killed himself in the video, but that he said she got the code. So is it
What I find interesting
her?
about Murphy's entire storyline is that whenever I met the actor for Murphy in ex-con in Myrtle Beach, and he was talking about how his character was only intended for like the first season.
Right.
And the only reason they even continued with his character is because they just liked it so much.
Yeah.
And he says that he's had a lot more influence on his own storyline because
cool.
of that. So I'm really interested to see where that ends up going because of that.
Yeah, they put him on as a season regular for season 3, so he's got an upgrade, and we'll be seeing a lot more of him. And I like that there are the levels and layers of Murphy, that he's not just some jerk. He's actually, he can be likable. We still don't know, as far as from Dragon Con, I saw the panel for the 100, and we still don't know why he was in prison to begin with. He said he didn't know the backstory yet either. But I'm curious to find that out, because I feel like it's going to be something like more heroic than we think.
I feel like his distrust of, not that they don't all have distrust of authority, and I mean, certainly Bellamy would be like number one as far as like authority issues, but I feel like with Murphy, I would imagine that maybe he got betrayed by the authority. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards, is that maybe he did do something heroic, or maybe he was naive in trusting authority, and then they kind of like, you know, I mean, that seems to have happened to several of the kids. Yeah. So,
and now the kids are kind of running the show. At Camp Jaha, is it Jaha? Jaha. I just want to say Jaha. I'm just going to do it. Camp Jaha. I keep thinking of Jaha wafers or Jaffa wafers. There's like these cookies, and I keep thinking of them. So at Camp Jaha, now, I mean, all along the kids have been running the show. The parents were not there, and I know that's probably going to cause a lot of inner turmoil, and we see it in that promo, and we see this new character, Pike, kind of uprising and trying to take it on. What are your predictions for how that kind of the relation's going to play out in the camp between the new arkers and the arkers who have been there longer?
Well, we've already seen that a little bit in season 2, whenever like Clark and her mom met up again and stuff like that. Like, there's going to be a lot of conflict there, because like you've got these kids who have been forced to grow up, and then you've got adults who still view them as nothing more than children.
Exactly.
And they're going to think that that puts them in a higher position of authority. And I don't see the kids standing for that.
I don't see it working out.
Yeah, well, and you made a good point with, basically the first arkers and then like incoming. I feel like there's definitely, I feel like there's a lot of shows that kind of touch upon that when you're the first or you've been there longer, you feel like you're more experienced and you naturally feel like you should control your own environment. So new people coming in always adds an element of something. But I also feel like control tends to come naturally to those who will take it. Like in the very beginning of the first season, Clark kind of really wasn't in control in such an obvious way as like Bellamy, who's like, I'm going to be in control and this is what's happening. He made it very clear that that was his goal. Whereas for Clark, she was just kind of like, this is what I'm going to do because it's the smart thing, and people ended up following her. Right. And she took on that leadership role, I think, less intentionally and more because people saw the wisdom of what she was doing. So I'm curious with the newcomers, like if maybe that's how Pike rises to power, maybe, or he might just be addressing issues that, other leaders have not addressed.
Yeah, or maybe there's a division in the camp between some people want to go Pike, maybe some people want to go Bellamy. It almost looks like from that trailer that Bellamy goes rogue and that him and Octavia have completely lost connection, and it looks like he's part of the Grounders at some point.
I think that it's going to be more continued conflict between the people in the Ark and the Grounders, and whether they want to sustain peace or whether they want to get back at them for what they did at the mountain.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's interesting too, because well, obviously there wouldn't be a show, but if you just sustain peace with like they probably have like 100-something people on the ground at this point, because there was only 44 of the original 100, I think, left at the end of the season, plus however many, which I don't know the number, came down in the Ark. That's a small little town, and you got like a whole world of people, and that's just like America. What an interesting thing was, and I was looking this up today, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, when they say Ton DC, did you guys figure out what that is?
No.
I think it's just the end of Washington, D.C. See, and like until I saw it written, because you know how in Lincoln you see the monument on the ground, like I was like, wait a second. So they're essentially in like Virginia area in the show.
Well, when I saw the Lincoln statue, I figured, I was like, okay,
that's what he's named.
That's and this is where they are clearly. Of course, then I started thinking to myself, I was like, are there mountains like that near Washington? I'm not actually from the South, so I was like, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure in like the mountains of Virginia. Yeah. It's not that far.
I just didn't think that the Lincoln Monument was that close to mountains. But anyway, you know, who knows? Nuclear holocaust. Maybe the world
maybe
shifted.
there's a new mountain.
Tectonic plates. I don't know.
That's what it is. Yes.
But-
Yeah, no, I thought that was really interesting. I had never noticed that before. And Lincoln's character, I think he's a really likable. I mean, he's likable in some
he's
ways,
likable,
but we like him. But he's actually a likable character because he almost seems to be the most moral or something of the show.
Forgive the pun, he seems to be the most grounded.
Good one. Yes. So it looks like he has left the Grounders and he's now with Octavia. I can't recall if we see that at the end, but it looks like that's the decision he has made.
We see them walking in together at the gate at the end, and I think that's a very interesting relationship dynamic because they're both in this situation where neither one of them feel like they belong anywhere anymore. Because Octavia's never really felt like she belonged with the Ark. Now she doesn't feel like she belongs with the Grounders.
Yeah. She's like growing up under the floor and she's living under the floor still.
Her story is like
sad.
the fact that
Tragic.
she's as normal as she is.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
is really like
They said
shocking.
something in season 1 about like something about her being crazy, and she's like, "What makes you think I'm not?"
That's good. Don't play, girl. Yeah, no, those two are really good characters, and a lot of the female characters, which there are many of in this show, are very strong. And I was at Dragon Con this past fall, and there was a 100 panel, and at the time I wasn't caught up on the show, but the characters, Monty and Murphy, the actors there, Richard Harmon and Christopher Larkin were there, and they're really entertaining, and one of the people in the audience asked them an interesting question about what they thought about it being kind of like a female-driven show. There's a lot of female writers in the writers' room, and this is what Christopher Larkin had to say about that.
Yeah, because I mean most writers' rooms are older white men. So whenever you get any kind of diversity, race, gender, when you have that, you just have awareness. And so when you're writing your female characters, you can write them with they're three-dimensional all of a sudden, and they have very clear motivations and drives. And you can see that with Clark, Lexa, Octavia, Raven. I'd say a lot of the females are stronger than the males in terms of development, so I think that's good. We need that.
So he was essentially saying that anytime, it's a little hard to hear, anytime you have anybody different, like a different race, gender, ethnicity in the writer's room, it lends to more kind of just even more compassion and more awareness in the writing. And he thinks that's why the female characters are even stronger on this show. And you think about the different females that there are. I mean, Clark is kind of like the leader of the show. Abby was the leader of the show. Raven's a strong character. Octavia, Lexa. I like how they make like it the queen instead of like there's a king of Earth kind of thing. I thought that was kind of a cool move. And even Indra is a really cool character. What do you guys think about how it seems like a masculine show, but at the end of the day, it's really not. What do you guys think about that?
It's really refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, no, I tend to, I mean, obviously it's a very hot topic to talk about like gender and representation of gender and also accepting people who necessarily don't like kind of acquiesce to like how you should act as a woman or how you should act as a man. And one of my favorite things was that we didn't know that Lexa was a woman because they called her, I think, the commander.
Yes.
And part of what I really liked about that was that it was gender neutral. We all probably assumed it was a man, and then to have it be a woman, and not only a woman but a very young woman, I thought was really interesting. And I feel like the show does a really good job of not really pushing any gender stereotypes one way or the other, which, you know, is important to me because I'm definitely what you would have called, I guess, a tomboy. Whereas now, that's, you know, girls can like trucks and like cool electronic toys, and boys can like dolls, and that's kind of a thing. So I feel like the writing is more modern in that sense. There's no gender stereotypes being pushed.
And on the other end of that as well, you see in a lot of things, you can't have a strong character without her being extremely masculine or the femme fatale type or something like that. And then you've got these girls, they're just regular girls who get put in a tough situation and they make the best of it. And so that's really good to see in a show as well.
It is refreshing. And during Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, the actress Eliza Taylor was saying that it's such a cool role and she never would have thought that would have been a role, being like a blonde, blue eyes. So I think it is neat that they're able to make these characters very multidimensional, and none of the females are similar. They're all very different. And even what Christopher Larkin was saying, he thinks that a lot of the females are actually more well-rounded than a lot of the male characters. Now, they've progressed into being more well-rounded characters, and maybe that just comes with the writer's room being so diverse, but I think that's what makes the show, it kind of catches you, is that you kind of feel that struggle, especially the scene, I can't believe this is all one season, the scene where Finn, when she had to kill him, like that, oh man, it's been a huge season, and we're looking forward to the rest of it. We have to wrap up because we have been chatting, and the show is about to come on. It's like been a week now. No, I'm kidding. But we're looking forward to the season premiere of season 3 coming up next Thursday. It's following the series premiere of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. We're all excited about that. So big premiere week coming up next week. I would like to thank our guest, Toni Darling, Hollie Rohde. Make sure nerdnationmagazine.com. And where can we find you on Twitter?
Twitter _ Toni Darling, or on Facebook, Toni Darling AZ.
Look her up. Look at her cool pictures. Thanks so much for being here. And in the words of the 100, may we meet again. We'll see you guys.